my brother-in-law. I'm like, so sorry. I'm so sorry. If it is me, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
So that should be resolved within 24 hours and maybe sooner. Now, we are also told, and I think this is really interesting, that the glove that was tested is not the glove that the New York Post found. It is a different glove. He says that he has video. He has video of Nancy Guthrie with the main keeper on what probably would be the last day of her life. That's the way he puts it here. He says, while what it contains is my definition of delivering it on a silver platter, a short video of the main guy with Nancy the day that was probably her last. He also says that he has names, addresses, phone numbers of the keepers. Now, he says he has that video in a phone, and the phone is turned off. It is in a secure, secret location, but a location easy to find if you know where to look. That's what he says. He doesn't say a safe deposit box, but he says easy to find if you know where to look. And he says that if he gets a Bitcoin, he will deliver, as he puts it, on a silver platter, exactly how to get access to this phone, including the password.
5 months of absolute psychological torment have left the Guthrie family shattered. But now, a chilling new lead has finally emerged, piercing the silence surrounding the harrowing vanishing of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie. A haunting trail of blood, back-to-back ransom deadlines, and grainy, masked footage of a suspect have now spiraled into a nightmare of cryptic clues. Since February 2026, the investigation has morphed into a labyrinth of deception. Was this an inside hit, a calculated abduction, or a home invasion turned fatal? Despite the nation's elite forensic units scouring every inch, the truth remains buried behind a wall of terrifying questions.
I think a lot of us are kind of scratching our heads a little bit because we're getting a lot of quote-unquote new details this week. But these are details that have been known to news stations for months. Particularly, our own sister station was aware of the details of these notes since February. From the FBI side of things, why would the FBI urge a local news station not to release details from these ransoms?
Everything began on January 31st, following a routine visit where Nancy was dropped off at her home by her daughter, Annie. The final person to cross paths with Nancy before she vanished was her son-in-law, Tommaso Tioni. The precision with which this operation was carried out suggests a chilling reality. This was no amateur job. The intruders systematically dismantled the home's defenses. First, the doorbell camera was severed, effectively blinding the property. Next, the security infrastructure was methodically sabotaged. In a haunting display of control, they even disconnected the victim's pacemaker from her mobile app, leaving her entirely vulnerable. All that remains on the security footage is a single masked figure, a ghost with no identifiable features. The investigation took a sinister turn when a local news station was thrust into the center of the case, receiving the first ransom note. The demand was cold and calculated: pay $4 million in Bitcoin by February 5th, or the price of silence would escalate to $6 million by February 9th.
When I called him, he knew. And he said, I think she's been for ransom. And I said,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Well, why? What? And then, I mean, it sounds so like, how dumb could I be? But I didn't want to believe. I just said, do you think because of me? And he said, I'm sorry, sweetie, but yeah, maybe. But I knew that.
You did.
I hope not. I mean, we still don't know. Honestly, we don't know anything.
No.
We don't know anything. So I don't know
Yeah.
that it's because she's my mom and somebody thought, oh, that girl, that lady has money, we can make a quick buck. I mean, that would make sense, but we don't know. But yeah, that's probably, which is too much to bear. To think that I brought this to her bedside, that it's because of me. And I just say, I'm so sorry, Mommy. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to my sister and my brother and my kids and my nephew and Tommy and my brother-in-law. I'm like so sorry. I'm so sorry. If it is me, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
CBS News dropped a bombshell revelation. The ransom note contained the exact hidden location of Nancy's Apple Watch inside her bedroom. This specific, intimate detail, which had never been released to the public, was clearly calculated to prove that the kidnappers were not just bluffing. The threat was the real deal. Desperate and racing against time, the family issued an immediate response, agreeing to the ransom demands. Their only plea, however, was for the life-saving medication their 84-year-old mother desperately needed to survive.
84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. She needs it not to suffer. We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please.
With each passing hour, the window for Nancy's survival was slamming shut. As the second ransom deadline slipped away into silence, authorities finally released the security footage from the Guthrie residence. It captured a chilling sight: a masked intruder equipped with a backpack, methodically dismantling the home's security system. Following these chilling revelations, the investigation narrowed its focus onto two primary figures. Authorities identified a 36-year-old DoorDash delivery driver tracked through electronic investigative tools. The other person thrust into the spotlight was the last individual confirmed to have seen Nancy, her son-in-law, Tommaso Tioni.
Impeccable. And he said that not only were the cameras smashed, plural cameras smashed, so that the suspect likely knew about the locations of them, but that the car belonging to the sister of Savannah Guthrie, Annie Guthrie, was towed, impounded, and taken into evidence. And that and this is the wording. It's very important. The wording is very important. He said they now believe the son-in-law may be the prime suspect. Those are the words. Son-in-law may be the prime suspect at this point. And I'm very mindful. I covered the Elizabeth Smart case. I was out in Salt Lake City for 5 weeks while Elizabeth Smart had vanished. And I recall specifically a lot of language saying Ed Smart is likely the prime suspect here. And so you got to be really mindful that, as you know, Megan, you're a lawyer. Police investigations start in the middle of the circle, and they go out in concentric circles in terms of investigating family members, right? You start in the middle of the family, you investigate out from there. Then you go to contractors and friends and workers and everybody else who's had some contact, and then there's the randoms. So it is not surprising that someone in the family is being looked at. That language to me was pretty strident, though.
The DoorDash driver became the focal point of a grueling interrogation, but the pressure yielded nothing. He stood his ground, repeatedly swearing his innocence, until investigators were forced to release him, leaving the authorities back at square one.
Her house, and the subject is her son-in-law.
Yeah,
is that right?
Son, yeah.
Tell me how this happened. Where was he when he was detained?
My daughter and him and the kids, my grandkids, were doing DoorDash when they got stopped here, and I don't know what kind of questions they asked him. But when we got home, I wasn't at home. When we got home, we found out that they took my son out. They went inside, they busted the doors from my house. They went inside and took my son to the living room and had him handcuffed, and then got him outside. That's when the time that we got home, and we asked what was going on, and they couldn't say anything. And they said, and I asked him to have a search warrant to go in my house. And they said, we don't need a search warrant. We could go do that if we want to. So I told them, yeah, I think you need a search warrant. Why did you break my door? You took my son the wrong way. I mean, you hurt him. His wrists were put the handcuffs.
Let me ask you, were you familiar with the Nancy Guthrie case? Had you seen that she was missing?
Like I told you, I saw it on Facebook, but since I don't know her, I didn't read what was going on. Did
they take electronic devices at all? Or did they take your phone?
I don't have anything. They took my phone. They took my phone, my husband's phone, my daughter's phone, my grandkids' phone, and my...
His confidence didn't waver for a single second. To silence the mounting rumors, his family took to live television, delivering a defiant message to the public, claiming they had absolutely nothing to hide.
Pictures from outside Nancy Guthrie's house.
Mm-hmm.
This is who they're looking for. Do the eyes look like your son-in-law at all?
No, not at all.
Do you see the mouth?
Yeah, no. He doesn't look at all.
Brian, can you ask what her son-in-law's
what's
name
his
is?
name?
It's Carlos. Carlos Palazuelos.
Sorry, what's his name?
Carlos.
Carlos.
Yes.
And what's his last name?
Palazuelos.
Okay.
I don't know, yeah. So...
And does he work in Tucson? Would he ever be in Tucson?
He's in Tucson all week. He works delivering boxes for like UPS and now. He works with a company, and I told him you can call the company that he works there and verify that he's working. And
is your daughter also detained?
No, they just let my daughter and my grandkids go.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Josefina.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the latest here, Jesse. They took her phone too.
Yeah,
her husband's phone, and her daughter's phone, and obviously her son-in-law's phone, and they are searching her house right now. So this is sort of an unfolding situation.
And I'll get into this with Arthur, the fact that they didn't have a search warrant according to her. Do you know where Carlos is right now, Brian?
Do we know where Carlos is right now?
No, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him. They took my phone. I can't reach with nobody.
Yeah, we think he's being questioned.
Yeah, they already asked us a lot of questions about him. Like I said, I have nothing to hide. You can go in my house. You can search anything you want. There's nothing to hide. I don't know the lady. I don't know about the lady. I saw her on Facebook, but like I told you.
Was he ever violent? Any violent? Carlos?
No, he's a good guy.
By 5 p.m. that same day, the ransom was transferred in Bitcoin, but the silence that followed only deepened the mystery. Who was really behind this? The precision was terrifying. Disconnecting the doorbell and sabotaging the security grid, this wasn't a crime of opportunity. Whoever did this had been watching Nancy for a long time, mapping her every move and learning the layout of her home. It reeks of an inside job. Not a single neighbor neighbor heard a struggle, the entire operation was surgical and hauntingly quiet. Then, on February 7th, Savannah posted a cryptic video, clearly aimed at someone specific, claiming she had received the message. The question haunts the investigation. What message was she talking about? An FBI spokesperson attempted to provide clarity, but their explanation felt hollow. Trust in their narrative is evaporating, especially since Savannah herself refused to elaborate, dodging the question entirely. But the most chilling development came nearly 14 days after Nancy vanished. Authorities recovered one of the kidnapper's gloves. Inside, they found a sample of DNA, but after a full sweep of the national database, it returned 0 matches. The ghost responsible for this remains invisible.
That glove, we're told, is in Arizona right now. This is called a PCR test. It's the most sophisticated DNA test. It's the gold standard. Usually takes just a day to get the results. We are told that in the next 24 hours, once that glove is tested and the results are in, that profile will go into the CODIS system. So that should be resolved within 24 hours and maybe sooner. Now, we are also told, and I think this is really interesting, that the glove that was tested is not the glove that the New York Post found. It is a different glove. So up to this point, everybody, and really us included, we assumed that was the glove. We are now told by people connected to this, it is not the glove, it is a different glove that authorities...
It defies logic. In a country where millions of DNA profiles are cataloged, how does a piece of evidence as critical as this come back completely empty? It should have been the smoking gun, the easiest path to unmasking the predator behind this nightmare. Yet, despite this massive lead, the investigative team's desperation for answers seems to have hit a dead end. Here is the official word from the investigators themselves.
What we need is a kernel of information, a name, and perhaps something from those forensic testing results will give us a name that will help us cull through all of that data and propel this investigation forward.
And what kind of data sets are we looking at here?
So, the easiest thing would be to say that, every cell phone in the vicinity of that house is hitting a tower, and it's registering to that tower. So the investigators surely have that information. They know which phones, and they're holding on to it, and they'll certainly have looked at it in some measure. Are these phones that have been hitting the same tower for the last 6 months? Are there phones that have only been hitting the tower for the last week? Are there phones that only hit the tower twice and have never come back to those same towers ever again? There's a lot of information to be had, right? Because now you can distinguish between residents and people who've just traveled through the area once, and that can be helpful. License plate readers, right? Your cars are getting picked up all the time as they travel through different areas. And is that information helpful? Now, how do you distinguish somebody just driving through a neighborhood versus the person of interest?
While the public grew increasingly disoriented by every sickening twist, Savannah stepped before the cameras, weeping for her missing mother once more.
Needs to do the right thing. We are in agony.
Yeah.
We are in agony. It is unbearable. And to think of what she went through. I wake up every night, in the middle of the night, every night. And in the darkness, I imagine her terror. And it is unthinkable, but those thoughts demand to be thought. And I will not hide my face. That she needs to come home now.
Yes.
What else is there to do but grieve when the world's elite investigative team keeps stumbling over crucial evidence, only to let it slip through their fingers? That's right, another massive lead rendered completely useless by the FBI's failure to act. Beyond the mask and the gloves, there was one more glaring detail in the security footage that stood out: the backpack the intruder was carrying.
Throughout the way big box stores track their inventory, it's quite possible they would know when every single Ozark backpack was sold and what time and so forth, and hence you have law enforcement looking at the surveillance cameras. You already have a physical description, have an idea of what this person looks like. So all of this evidence is helpful, including the DNA evidence. It helps to narrow the field, so the police aren't looking for someone in New York. At least they know perhaps that it's someone that is local, if they still are. So these are important leads. Will they garner results immediately? Only time will tell, but they're certainly important.
The timeline of the ransom notes creates a devastating shift in the narrative. While the first demand was a cold, calculated request for millions in Bitcoin, the second note carried a chilling update on Nancy's condition, an implication that she may have already lost her life. Unlike the initial demand, this second note was kept strictly out of the public eye. We're forced to rely on the word of 3 close yet unnamed sources. Why the blind faith in these anonymous claims? It's a question that remains unanswered. Yet even with the looming unspoken confirmation of her mother's death, Savannah still chose to appear on the Today Show. The question remains, what was the real purpose behind that appearance?
I cry every morning on the way to work, and I cry every morning on the way home. And I'm grateful to have good friends and to be able to come to such a beautiful and joyous and supportive place. And like so many people out there, you can hold all of these things together. I try to tell my kids that too, you know? We can hold our sadness and we can hold our joy. And just, if you don't believe it, just watch.
During one of her televised appearances, Guthrie leaned into the camera, her voice trembling as she begged the public for help. She offered a desperate reassurance. Despite the heartbreaking news looming over the investigation, any lead, no matter how small, would be a glimmer of hope they desperately needed.
I don't have any comment on the story, and I'm not involved in our coverage, but I can't pretend I'm not here. And so since I am, I wanted to just take the opportunity to ask people, to beg people to come forward. Somebody knows something. And this is a news story today that is on your radar, but this is the life that my sister lives, that I live, that my brother lives, that our extended families live, that our children live every day. And we are in agony. And we cannot be at peace. So no matter how much I try to come out here every day and smile and find that joy, and I will, I promise I will. This is a moment to tell you that we need your help. We're begging for your help. And I'm not gonna miss that opportunity. And so please, if you're watching, no matter how small, the reward is there. You can tell us, it can be anonymous. Please do the right thing for us, for our family, for our children. And we love our mom, and we'll never stop looking for her, never.
To your point, if you have any information, if you're watching, if you're listening, if you have any information at all that could help investigators and could help this family find just a modicum of peace, the phone number's right there on your screen, 1-800-CALL FBI.
While the prevailing belief is that Nancy has passed away, the Pima County Sheriff has resisted making an official declaration, citing the legal necessity of recovering a body before confirming a death. Unsurprisingly, this has fueled significant public outcry, as many feel the investigation has been plagued by questionable handling and lack of transparency throughout.
Is there information that you are purposefully withholding because of the active investigation that might be leading you in a particular direction?
Criminal investigation that we conduct here. Law enforcement has conducted investigations since 1865 here in Pima County. We're always mindful of what it is that's in front of us and what we should release and can release. There's legal guidelines that guide us, but there's also strategy too. So, I'll leave that for you to determine.
Now that you are having such an injection of manpower from the PIMA critical incident team and the FBI, were you slow to bring that in at the outset? Should all of these resources be brought to bear sooner?
I guess that it's Monday morning quarterbacking. I do it all the time, so you have the opportunity to do it for me. I'll take that hit.
The Nancy Guthrie case, which had largely faded from the headlines, took a bizarre and unsettling turn when TMZ began receiving a series of emails from an anonymous tipster. This individual claimed to possess definite proof regarding the abduction, specifically a short video file showing the main guy and Nancy on the day she allegedly passed away, along with images and personal details of two kidnappers. The sender asserted that this information was stored on a phone in a secure, hidden location, ready to be delivered on a silver platter. To validate these claims, the tipster used the same unpublicized Bitcoin wallet address and alias found in earlier legitimate communications, leading TMZ to authenticate the source as the same individual who had sent previous ransom-related messages. However, the standoff remains at a stalemate. When TMZ pressed the sender for a preview or a screenshot to prove the evidence was real, the tipster flatly refused. They cited intense paranoia, claiming that any digital transfer would expose the files to metadata tracking, which they feared would lead to their own identification and retaliation. The FBI has since been looped into every piece of correspondence. Federal agents are currently working to determine whether they are dealing with a sophisticated witness who genuinely holds the key to the case, or merely a calculated fraudster attempting to exploit a high-profile tragedy for a one Bitcoin payout. As the investigation shifts towards a felony murder focus, authorities are now prioritizing the digital infrastructure of this mysterious tipster, hoping their crypto footprint will finally unmask them.
Today is Friday, June 26th, and we have received another email from the man who says he knows who Nancy Guthrie's kidnappers are and can lead the FBI to those for one Bitcoin. So the man writes that he has clearly been following things we've been saying, questioning the FBI telling us that the person who wrote this might be a female. The person does not say he's a male for sure, but he puts a big question mark there, and then also puts a question mark where we say we might be doing a documentary. So he says in this email that he is not, as he puts it, I am not the idiot who recently called in a tip about her burial site in Mexico. He goes on to say, only 2 are directly involved, and I doubt they would be the ones calling to snitch on themselves. So he has said to us before that there were multiple kidnappers and there was a main kidnapper, but definitely plural kidnappers. He has said that before. In this email, which by the way we have sent to the FBI, he says that he has video. He has video of Nancy Guthrie with the main kidnapper on what probably would be the last day of her life. That's the way he puts it here. He says, while what it contains is my definition of delivering it on a silver platter, a short video of the main guy with Nancy the day that was probably her last.
Will the police finally crack this mystery, or will this lead vanish like the others? With the investigation 5 months in and frustration mounting, we want to hear your take. Do you believe the authorities are on the right track, or is this case spiraling out of control? Tell us below.